Okay, we're recording to the cloud. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Morning.
How's everyone doing?
We're good. We're good. We got our pens in hand. We're ready. Speak, oh great mighty leader.
Great to see you all.
Hi, Melissa.
Morning.
You feeling better now?
I am actually.
We're on our way. On the way.
All right.
Thank you for asking, Carolyn.
Okay. I don't know what that thought was starting to be. Are you getting it?
I'll erase it.
Thanks for catching up on all those uploads, by the way, Dave. That was fantastic. Thank you so much.
That. Yeah, I'll see if I can't do that after each show now so we stay caught up. The further out it gets, the heavier the shoulders get. That's for sure. And all of a sudden, the self-betrayal comes into play. All the justifications. It's live on Facebook. Like, watch it there.
Oh,
But I'll stay ahead. I'll do my best to stay ahead of it. I won't make a promise because what do they say? Promises, Mary Poppins, promises easily made or easily broken. Okay, so let's pull up the book. So we're on a new chapter. So those that are have come in since we got started, we've been going succinctly through The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. And just going sentence by sentence and elaborating on it, and sometimes taking more time with more elaboration and really diving in deep to the principles that are in here. But we're on chapter 8 now. And if you've come in after we've started and you were just invited in and you haven't gone back to the beginning show, or I call them shows, but the beginning Zooms, Zoom number 1, I would highly recommend that. Go back to listening to, and you could follow along, kind of burn the candle at both ends. Follow along in live, but also make sure you go get those beginning ones. I think we're up to like 29 or something like that. 29 weeks. How many weeks are in a year? 56? 50?
52.
52 weeks.
52.
Anybody can do this, you guys. You don't have to be a master at everything. It's just what you focus on, what you really give your attention to. And some people give their attention everywhere, displace it. They displace their attention. And the more you do that, the less power you have. There's just so many quotes out there from people that we look back in history that have accomplished great things, and they say, concentration and focus on one thing. You still have to do other things that are necessary, but there's a lot of things that we can eliminate that are not necessary. So anybody can do that. Don't rationalize or justify or be a victim in that thought process. Okay. I'm going to leave it unmuted unless we get some background noise. So actually, I'll just make it so that you can unmute yourself. Allow participants to unmute themselves. Yes. Okay. So you should be able to unmute yourself if you want to interject or share anything. I like this, I haven't gone ahead and read, so I'm not exactly sure what this chapter is going to get into in detail. But if it's what it is, I think it is. I think this is the part, I like all of it. but some things that were empowering me to be less and less of a victim and more take control. And just really building that foundation for belief that that's the way it is, you know, thinking in a certain way, certain scientific way. And I think he said in the beginning of the book, you know, if one person can do it and they're following a certain outline and another person can do it, then it holds true until somebody who comes along who does it and it doesn't work for them. But not at the fault of the outline. I mean, not at the fault of the person, but at the fault of the outline. And what we have here is so many people are at fault, not the outline, not the certain and scientific way of doing it. It's so many people's personal discipline or consistency or really getting it right that is at fault. There's just too much social proof behind, you know, thinking in this way that works. And I just got a call, you know, from Guillermo on Sunday. I think it was yesterday or Saturday, Sunday, I think it was. And just how it's working, you know, it's just so awesome. It's like our products. You can't put our products in the body and they not work. But how many people out there have said, they don't work for me, you know, or it's not working. It's not the fault of the products. I can guarantee you. Science is science. And so it's principles. And sometimes, I don't know if we look for excuses because it's harder and we look for reconfirming excuses from other people how it doesn't work. And we're like, it makes us feel better in our own faults. You know, these are just some human nature things. Of course, I'm not talking to you guys and myself, right? We don't do that. So let's just jump into this and see where it takes us. So it says, turn back. I don't like that. Turn back to chapter 6 and read again the story of the man who found a mental image of his house. And you will get a fair idea of the initial step towards getting rich. You must form a clear and definite mental picture of what you want. You cannot transmit an idea unless you have it yourself. So the man with the house, he was skeptical, remember? And he was like, well, okay, you talked me into it. But when he decided to do it the right way. And he did the work. And at first he started out with a stove and a rug, but he imagined, you know, and he would have had to imagine it enough. It's not just like, okay, I'll do it. And he did it for, you know, 2 days and there it was. You don't get the blessing until after the trial of your faith. That exactly goes along with this. That's out of the Bible, right? You don't get your desire until after the trial of your faith. What's the trial of your faith? Continually holding the mental picture when you don't know how it's going to come. You must have it before you can give it. And many people fail to impress the thinking substance because they have themselves only a vague and misty concept of the things they want to do, to have, or to become. That is so true. Bob Proctor said it. Hey, I was he says this happens all the time, but in a seminar of thousands of people, you know, and he'd go up to people and say, so if I gave you so much money every month, what would you do with it right now? And it blew me away because I feel like I could just rattle off, I do this, this, and this. And they couldn't answer. They stumbled and they were like, I don't know, I guess I'd really have to think about it. Well, yeah. And what would you do if $5,000 was coming in every week? What would you do? I knew what I would do. I know what would have got me there, and I know what I would have continued to do. Telling people the problems and the solutions with their health and their wealth. That's the tracks I'm going to run on. That's who I'm going to be identified as, a full-time employee of Isagenix. And I will continue to do that. I'll get better and better at it. I'll add more people to my team, and we'll go out and make a bigger difference in the world. And in the middle, so I would be doing that. I would be going into homes. I would be, back then, I would be doing, continually doing expos. I would be doing home presentations. I'd be doing some hotel presentations. We'd be doing some super Saturdays. I'd be doing three-way calls with people. What would I be doing on those things? I would be introducing what the problem is with whoever was there at that time. What's the problem out there? Why do we have a health crisis? We're in a health crisis. Did you notice? I've said that for 15 years. So I would be telling people about, reconfirming to them that there is a health crisis and point out some of those things that they are, whether it was a phone call, whether it was a home presentation, whether it was on a weeknight at a hotel presentation, whether it was a Super Saturday. So that's what I would be doing. That's my tracks that I'm going to be running on. That's what I'm going to be filling up my time with. And then it would be not filled up, but then it would be interspersed with enjoying the income that's coming in and the freedom of choices that I have. I don't have a boss, so I don't have to clock in to earn my money. So that means it doesn't mean that I can just go and check out, but it means that I do have some flexibility with what I want to do when I want to do it. And so I had to juggle that. Not I'm going to live a life of 100% freedom, not when I got started. Not even when I was making $2,000 a week, $3,000 a week, $4,000 a week, $5,000 a week. I'd say after about $5,000 a week, it really starts to give you some freedom, right? So that's what I would do. So Bob Proctor asked me what would I do with $5,000 a week. I'd say, well, I'd have all of the technology that I needed. I'd have my computers, my projectors. I would have, a car that I want to drive, and really hold as a role model, that you can have the things that you want in life. And then I would do presentations about health, and then on how you can generate wealth through passive residual income through leverage. And then what I would do is help people to self-actualize in those areas so that they can take their lives up and up. And while I'm doing that with other people, I would continue to grow myself. And so we would get people focused on positive, proactive things that are changing their lives in a positive way. And I would be setting a role model example for that, but also teaching other people and empowering them and believing in them to do the same thing and educating them and then training on the skills. And I would just keep doing that. I don't see any finish line for that. That's what my answer would be to Bob Proctor. And then, if it was way more money, then I would just build that dream bigger. I'd be flying places to do things with people. I'd be doing Super Saturdays and paying for the hotel rooms and on and on. I'd take better vacations with my family. I would pay the bill for everything, and even my married kids, and just I'd help them out because of that income that's coming in. I would buy paintings and furniture and a home that I love, and really enjoy the abundance that's coming into my life. I would tithe. I'd be charitable. I'd give contributions. Right? So you don't get something unless you give something. And you can give something on a mental level before you ever have it. And if you follow this certain scientific way, see, that is what I was seeing in my mind before it actually happened in Isogenics, those things happening. But what's got me to where I am is what I get to continue to do. That's a pretty unique thing. When we talk about the law of attraction, what do people want? What do they focus on? If Isogenics is your vehicle for helping you to live that dream life of contribution and abundance, then that's a pretty unique thing to have it all under one roof. And I would say that a lot. Isogenics has it all under one roof. It's like the big mega stores where you can go get hardware, you could go get computer stuff, you could go get groceries, you can get some clothes, all under one roof. Isogenics is like that in a very profound way. You could frame up, if you choose to, every aspect of your life where Isogenics is touching it. All right. So what I just described to you was my vision. Before it happened, you say, well, that's easy, Dave. That's what you do. That's who we recognize you as. That's your identity. Bingo, that was my identity. That was my identity before it happened. Not it's going to happen. It can't be denied because I learned how to do that in this book. So it's not enough that you should have a general desire for wealth to do good with. That's what people have. They have this kind of abstract, they can't really give you the tracks to run on. Well, I'd like to help people. Okay, well, everybody likes to help people. What does that mean? Help people. And when I say it like that, that's how people really say it. That's their desire is explained in, well, I want to help people. I want to do good in the world. Okay, how are you going to do that? And that's where they started to stumble. They start stumbling right there. The template really gives it to the person who's going to agree with this as their vehicle. If you haven't decided that it's your vehicle, the template might be a little frustrating and a little hard to get into when it comes to detail. Isogenics was the vehicle I've been looking for my whole life. The deeper I looked, the better it got, and I looked pretty deep. I looked pretty deep enough to where it brings heaven to earth. It is not enough that you should have a general desire for wealth to do good with. Everybody has that desire. It is not enough that you should have a wish to travel. When I've done the template with people, a lot of people, that's 90% of people, I want to travel more and see the world. All right, so you got to give something in order to receive something. So if we go back to the template, your receiving part is really in this box here, but your receiving is pretty much the same as what you built for people here that are your business partners. Remember, we want to make it attractive for business partners. They're paying off their mortgages. They're becoming financially free completely. They're firing their boss and doing Isogenics full time. They're sending their kids to the schools they want to go to. They're going on the vacations that they love going on. And they get to do what they want, when they want, because they have such a strong team that's just growing exponentially. So those types of things, they're driving their dream car. Pretty similar. I mean, I think human beings, for the most part, are attracted to the same things when it comes to abundance. They're traveling, they're helping their kids, they're living in the neighborhoods and the houses that they want, taking the vacations they want. So you would be describing that for yourself a little bit in this box, and then you're going deeper into it here. And then here, it's the fairy tale dream life come true for you and the associates on your team and the customers when you get down to step 5. And it's in detail. Hopefully you're writing, you're using a notepad and filling it up in each of these areas. I would say at least a page on a notepad, at least a page on each category. But then some corrections made to that, some refining with it as you go through to where you're really connecting with it and it makes you excited. Then going over your compelling vision every morning, if you're refining it to where it becomes more and more exciting and more desirable, then that compelling vision becomes compelling for you. It gets you to do things that other people wouldn't do when it takes mental discipline. If you don't have the compelling vision, you won't develop the discipline behind it. So you might have a page of what your customers look like, satisfied, more than extremely satisfied, passionate customers. You might have a page, even if you stayed within the same page, you should be reframing and rewording and adjusting those sentences to where they become more and more exciting, more and more vivid, more and more explanatory on detail to where somebody wouldn't be left without question. And he says down here, whoops, I like this, what he said here. I did read this part the other day. It's not enough that you should have a wish to travel, see things, live more, etc. Everybody has those desires. Everybody does, but everybody doesn't get to live those things. So what makes the difference? We know it's not school. We know it's not their upbringing as far as, opportunity. We've already established that at the beginning of the book. If you were going to send a wireless message to a friend, you would not send the letters of the alphabet in their order and let him construct the message for himself. That made so much sense to me as what was expected of me with the way I write out my vision. And I've reiterated that so many times with some of you. And as I trained, you wouldn't just send the alphabet to somebody. You would, you've got to strategically and very exact put those letters in a order, certain order. And there's not much wiggle room. Most people are just sending the alphabet out and saying, here, you try to figure it out. Even in their prayers, they're doing that. Like, God, help me. Help you with what? And remember, prayer is not about asking and getting. It's about preparing yourself to receive, getting clear on what you want. But then there's another step. Before you pray, first believe that you received, and then you shall have whatsoever things you ask. So prayer is about getting clear, getting it organized, get the letters organized so it's a clear, coherent message. It's in your heart. That's something that's very dear to you. Now believe that God's already blessed you with it. It's all right there. I mean, it was all there in the Bible. It just wasn't as clear as Wallace Wattles was explaining that to me. And there were so many examples of how to use that in the Bible. You would not send the letters of the alphabet in their order and let him construct the message for himself. Nor would you take words at random from the dictionary. You would, I want to do good. That's taking a random word from the dictionary. I want to do good in the world. I want to help people. Even I want to help people get healthy is still just a random word. You would send a coherent sentence, one which meant something. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you did this really well and you put the time, energy into it that it takes, how do you think your presentation would be that you put together? Oh. Yeah, I guess it would be. If I could do this really good, I guess I would do my presentation the same way. When you try to impress your wants upon substance, remember that it must be done by a coherent statement. Why? Because molecules are coming together based on a vibration. Molecules are coming together based on a vibration. Your hypothalamus can create any combination of peptides, any combination. It's the ultimate pharmacy. And it will construct them in a way that matches the images and the feelings that you're having. This is why it's so important. Now we're getting down to the deeper science of quantum physics. So if I pull up this, why do I have to have a clear and coherent message? So imagine the things now where you speak and it types out the words for you, right? You could do that right on your own phone. They're getting closer and closer to how the brain works with the universe. So you say something and the words just show up. Isn't that cool? The letters are all arranged just by your words. What are your words? They're vibrations. The computer isn't a living thing that understands the words by the vocabulary and the way that the word comes out. It's picking up vibrations. And those vibrations are going exactly onto being typed out, letter by letter, word by word. So it's constructing the form of your vibration. Woo, I've never said it like that before. It's really downloading right now. Do you guys get that? You speaking into your phone for a talk text where it types it out, it's taking your vibration and putting it into a form right in front of your eyes. Well, you don't have to speak to create a vibration. Let's pull it up here. What's happening is your hypothalamus, can you guys see that? Your hypothalamus is the ultimate pharmacy. It can construct, oh, It says ultimate pharmacy. It can construct any one of these in any order or fashion, just like a geneticist can physically manipulate chemical structures and make new structures. Bill Andrews said we invented chemicals in the lab that weren't even in existence, trying to get telomerase to induce. So your mind does the same thing. It talks about this in What the Bleep Do We Know, which is a documentary. And so it'll construct these. What's it constructing them based on, though? Because this is a result of something. This is not just happening randomly and chaotically. It's happening scientifically, cause and effect. Don't get this result without an action. Remember I said thinking is an action. It's a behavior, the most important one. So this is a result of the way the individual is thinking. And the images that you're holding in your mind and then putting feelings along with them, that's the most powerful thought you could have. If it's an original thought that you want intentionally, that's the most powerful thought you could have as a creator, or that's the most powerful thing you could do, is take an original thought that you want, have an image of it, a clear, decisive image, not a random, abstract, very clear, decisive image with a feeling based behind it. And this will be created right here. When you're creating that feeling and you're in it, you know when you're in that zone, when you feel it. Just think of something that you did in the past, in your history, that was amazing. What was like one amazing moment? It might have been just you that noticed it. It might have been a sports event where you were, you did something spectacular, hit a home run, scored a goal, won the track meet, whatever. Think back, or maybe you colored something and grandma put it on her fridge and it made you feel so amazing, or a teacher said something to you. Now, we want something positive, right? So think back to what that was. And if I left you to yourself for a couple minutes, you could start really getting in and tapping into that memory. And it makes you feel a certain way, okay? When you get to that feeling and how it feels, you're in the zone. That's the sweet spot, all right? So we can do that with something that's a fantasy, something that we've made up, that we constructed and pieced together, usually based on examples of other people, and we piece things together that other people have done, different individuals, and then we piece them together, and then we can construct, this ultimate dream life. In isogenics, there's a lot of role models for that. So we can put that down on paper, and then we work to get the feeling as though we already have it. Not it's not going to come. Most people have this in the beginning when they say, I want to do the business. I want to do this because I just had an amazing experience. Or they come to an event and they're so moved by all the testimonies and the information, it makes sense to them. And then there's reconfirming social evidences, and they're not in yet, but they're so excited in that moment. And they're like, I'm going to do this. What they're doing is they're seeing the images that were portrayed by other people. They're seeing it for themselves. It's called the inception phase. It's very euphoric. A lot of people will quit and start over, not knowing that they're addicted to the inception phase, and that they could carry that inception phase out to actual reality, but they don't know that. They don't know that scientific process for doing that. And so if they can't maintain that inception phase, this stops being created. What does it go back to? Oh, the memories of the past and the reconfirming evidences that say, you can't do this. See, people don't want to get started on the products. They say no. And so this changes from the inception phase back to the old who they are. Well, it says right in the Bible, you can't put new wine in old bottles. It'll burst. You can't be like Lot's wife and walking away from the old and looking back and wanting to hang on to the old. You'll turn into a pillar of salt. You'll preserve the old because you'll keep preserving this every time you look back. You have to forgive yourself of the past. And forgive doesn't mean, just have an understanding as to why I did that, but I did do it. It means forgetting it. It never happened. That's what forgiveness means. It never happened. And I will treat myself and others as though it never happened. Then the old one of these could never come back. But what are you going to fill in that vacuum? What are you going to fill it in with? You got to have something scripted out. Okay, does it make sense? So what happens now? Well, this peptide that gets created goes into the blood, goes into the bloodstream, and almost instantaneously it does this. It's bam, 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 and it's docked into a cell. And when you get scared, that happens so fast. That feeling of being scared, boom, boom, and look how fast, you're like shaking, and you're like, oh my gosh, you scared me, right? That's because this process happens so fast. Thought image, boom, hypothalamus created, boom, it's docked into a cell. And it causes this cell to vibrate at a certain vibration. Certain vibration, just like your vocal cords and your eardrums use, right? It's a vibration. That vibration with your talk and text is manifesting right in front of your eyes into the physical world. So like your phone, this, what he calls thinking stuff, is in everything. It's in and through everything. It fills the inner spaces of the universe. There's no place that it isn't. And it's just waiting to be arranged like a magnet will suck things together, like a magnet will suck it together. This vibration, if held long enough, will suck things together and arrange them in the order and fashion that matches what this is. Just like it does on your phone. It's matching the T. If you're saying, thank you, THANKYOU, it arranges it right on your phone in a physical form. And that's just a computer that can't even get anywhere near matching the power of the brain. So that same process isn't landing in your phone, though. It's landing in the ether. It's one huge phone. It's one huge computer. And it's just action and reaction. It's just waiting for you. And God knows that. That's the way he set it up. It's the way God follows. He puts himself in obedience with these laws. And so trying to teach us. That's why commandments are so important. That's why laws, you want to find them and find out which ones you're breaking, because they're there to serve you, not you serve the laws. See, people got it wrong that are, I get the dynamics with religion and, some of the bad things that have happened in religion. And, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but there's an explanation for everything, right? So, but when you find the truth, you want to cling on to that truth. And religion is synonymous with philosophy, teaching us how to govern ourselves. So I'll look for truth wherever I can find it. All right, so the old paradigm, most people are on a hamster wheel with the same peptides going in. And they might for a moment have a new thought, but they don't maintain it. Because it doesn't maintain itself. That takes intentional effort to hold that new thought, especially with the feeling. There's a lot of people who will read their 3x5 cards, their vision, their template, and the whole time they're saying, but this isn't true. No, I'm not. I can't do that. This is crazy. But they are very disciplined in reading it, but they're not getting the feeling behind it. All right, the image and the feeling. So you're either vibrating here. There's an infinite amount of these vibrations, infinite amount. There are vibrations that as human beings, we haven't even been able to imagine to create them. We haven't learned them yet. The Wright brothers tapped into the vibration of flight in a successful way. That wasn't that long ago. And look at how many thousands of years people have been on the earth. There are still vibrations. The vibration of love as a whole, consistently, we're not there yet as a species, as a human, species as well. I don't really like saying that word species because it puts us in the same category as other species. We're not in the same category as other species. And we didn't get to where we are through an evolution. We were born the children of God in his image. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling on there, but that's why that vibration right here is part of the template. This is where I am now. This is the thoughts. This is the peptides that I'm kicking out, the thoughts and images that just keep going, interspersed with, a different thought here and there, but not maintained. It takes discipline. You have to raise your standards mentally, discipline. And in your actions, getting your actions to mimic your images as closely as you can is so vitally important, because it helps the receiving process and the established channels that are already out there. It helps you to connect to them quicker. So you want to be mimicking your physical actions as closely as you can with your fantasy, with your template. This is so important. I don't think I said that in the recording. You want to mimic them. So when they say fake it till you make it, it kind of falls in that category, but you're not really faking it because you're doing your best to mimic what that fantasy is. And I would say you're not faking it at all. I think with the fantasy, we're being delusional, but with your physical actions, you're not faking that. You're literally getting into the actions that you can best do that mimic that fantasy. So when I saw myself as a presenter, I put together a flip chart. Very simple. Anybody could do that. I just printed things off. I found the information, did some investigative work, found the information, printed it out on the printer. And back then, I didn't even have a color printer. I took it on a floppy or whatever it was, a thumb drive, to Staples and had them printed out. And then I had a nice little presentation folder. And then I would invite myself into people's homes after work. Well, I was seeing myself as a leader, as a presenter, as somebody who's built an organization and in building a team. And that's the process by which I saw it, sharing information and people saying yes and people getting excited about it. Well, I mimicked that. I wasn't presenting at the time, but I started putting my actions to mimic what that vision was as closely as I could. Otherwise, you're a hypocrite. Okay, I'm just going to say that to really make the contrast. Otherwise, you're a hypocrite. If you're not getting into action what you're saying, then that's a hypocrite if you're not doing it. So you could have a little bit of fear. Oh no, I've got to do that. And that might hold you back. That's another topic. Okay, so then I started doing the presentations. I didn't know how or where or who I was going to do presentations with, but I did have some friends and family that I could invite myself to come and share it with, and I did that. And then other ideas started coming, and other people started to be attracting to me, and ways of doing them just automatically came. Just like what Guillermo shared with me, something that he gets to check off on his vision board now. He didn't know how it was going to happen, but now he found himself, it's already become a reality physically. So, but you've got to do the things, right? You got to prepare yourself for when the way appears. So mimic in your actions. If you're mimicking yourself doing presentations and you haven't done a presentation once in your entire Isogenics career, then that should tell you something. You need to start doing that. How? I gave you some exposure. I went and made a little flip chart. There's so many things you could print up that are out there now to explain the problems and the solutions, and then start looking for ways to make it happen. Present that thing. Present it to people you already know. People who are already in, say, hey, can I practice this presentation on you? That would be getting you closer than not doing it at all, right? Well, things are going to happen. Things will be attracted to you when you play at that level. So make sure that your template is something that you really want to be doing. When I would explain that to Bob Proctor, yeah, that's totally something that I really want to be doing. I've already made that decision. I've already made up my mind. I saw what other people were doing and I'm like, I want to do that. I want to be like Susan Sly. So what did I do? I made the vision of that, and then I started doing the actions to mimic that as best I could. Was I a Susan Sly when I tried? No way. But I knew through repetition I would get better. Okay, makes sense? So let's go back to the book. Oops, wrong way. So it's not enough that you should have a wish to travel, see things, live more. Everybody has those desires also. See, the thing I love about isogenics is my success in isogenics is what I'm going to give in order for me to receive. I get to receive purpose and impact and a reason for living that's really high, right? Really contributive, making an impact in the world, leaving a legacy for why I was alive. But also, it's going to fulfill the car, the travel, the getting in the black in my income in the bank. So if you were going to send a wire, okay, so we read that. One which meant something. One which meant something. Meant means there's feeling behind it. There's purpose. With purpose comes feeling. One which meant something. You would send a coherent sentence, one which meant something. And I'm not a hypocrite about it. When you try to impress your wants upon substance, remember that it must be done by a coherent statement. You must know what you want and be definite. You can never get rich or start the creative power into action by sending out uninformed longings and vague desires. Try it with your talk and text. Just go like, what's your talk and text? What's it gonna manifest? It's not gonna manifest a coherent message. And most people are like, want, 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 want. That's what most people's visions are when it comes to being an intentional, creating your dream life creator. Do you guys get that? You would never do that in your talk and text. It's a very coherent vibration. It's a very you got to break things down to vibration. You really do. I mean, I think of things in vibration. In the Matrix, they show those little things falling down. I look at things as a vibration. How I'm feeling right now. Dave, what message are you sending out right now? It's not a good one. Quick, change it. Get onto something good. Because I know that vibration, like my talk text, is going to manifest if I continue to entertain it. I just know that as a knowledge. That's why I'm not a negative person. If you hang around me long enough, you won't find me having negative conversations, negative images. Go over your desires just as the man I have desired went over his house. See just what you want and get a clear mental picture of it as you wish it to look when you get it. That's what this is. And do you guys see now why the template is framed up the way it is? If I didn't have a clear message on my customers, I'm not going to have those customers. It would just be random. It would be left to whatever random thoughts I had about customers, influenced by something outside of me, or maybe a memory from the past. So forgiving, I'm forgiving every bad customer I ever had in the car industry, because I don't want that to influence my future, right? So I'm literally forgetting it. Like a whiteboard, you can just wipe it off. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Do you see why I framed up my business partners and why I framed up business partners at all? Because I want that leverage. I want that self-perpetuating momentum in my organization. Like two trains going downhill. And then myself and who I wanted to be, my identity, and then growing that identity to the ultimate. Do you see why after doing that for years and then really thinking about it, I was able to come up with a template? The template didn't come first. The book came first. I applied those things, and this is what I look back and say, hey, this is how I did it. And it took this kind of discipline. So now, through my efforts and actions, an individual could speed things up. I love how Whitsoe says that, John A. Whitsoe, in Rational Theology. He says that the advancement of one person can help to advance other people, make it easier, faster. They don't have to go through the learning process that takes time, experimentation. They could just speed up other people's progress. I love that. That is a big part of my why now, is speeding up other people's progress because of what I've taken the time to learn and grow through and experiment with. So I don't do that egotistically. it's God that has been the biggest factor in this, that has revealed things along with the Spirit. And I don't take the credit for it. All I take is that, hey, I did put my energy and focus in a certain way and spent time in a certain way. And I'll take credit for that. God can't accomplish his goals without us. So in a smaller way, we are essential. Without us, these things wouldn't be accomplished. So there is a partnership where God does depend on me, but my dependence on God is much greater than his dependence on me. But there is a dependence. And that gives me a sense of honor and a sense of my life does matter and my choices do matter and what I do with my time does matter. And I could really, do something with that and hold an honorable position in God's great plan. Make sense? So the more I focus on those types of things, the greater the honor and the greater the rewards that come with that. Okay. So get a clear mental picture of it as you wish it to look when you get it. When you get it. Not it's going to happen, when you get it. What's that mental picture look and feel like? That clear mental picture you must have continually in mind. I don't like when she says in The Secret, the movie The Secret, oh, so what are we asking you to monitor your thoughts all the time? That would be impossible. No, we're asking you to monitor your thoughts all the time. Play at that level. And when you do, things come much faster. You don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to be better than you were. And then if you could keep saying, well, I'm better than I was last month. I'm better than I was last year. I'm not perfect at this, but my aim is to be ye therefore perfect, to shoot for perfection when it comes to my thoughts and my feelings. I'm shooting for perfection. That clear mental picture you must have continually in mind, as the sailor has in mind the port towards which he is sailing the ship. You must keep your face toward it all the time. You must no more lose sight of it than the steersman loses sight of the compass. There you go. There's the, how do you want to say that? How do I want to say that? There's the mark, right? There's what you need to aim for. There's another way of saying that. It's not coming to my mind right now. Maybe some of you know. So it is not necessary to take exercise in concentration, nor to set apart special times for prayer and affirmation, nor go into the silence, nor to do occult stunts of any kind. Things are well enough. But all you need is to know what you want and to want it badly enough so that it will stay in your thoughts. There are some people that do some pretty strange things that takes it out of their control, like they're giving the control to something else through the ritual that they're doing. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a false teaching. The way to create the life that you want is not going to be directed at something that then that something outside of you is going to do it for you. I'm just going to tell you, right, that's a false teaching. Right, that's erroneous thinking. All of the power there ever was and ever will be is inside of you through your mental faculties. And you taking that raw energy that's coming in with no picture, no thoughts, no feeling, it's coming to you perfectly as energy, and then it comes to and through us. Watch some of Bob Proctor's videos, his seminars, where he talks about that. And then we shape that, right? What was the thing? Taking an image and what we will bring forth 1,000 joys or 1,000 ills. That's decided right here. If you're going to turn that energy that's coming to and through you, if you're going to shape it into 1,000 joys or 1,000 ills. We think in secret, and it comes to pass. Life is but a looking glass, something like that. So, all right, spend as much of your leisure time as you can in contemplating your picture. Really get into it in your leisure time. You know, because there's going to be times during the day when your attention is demanded on something else, right? It's kind of sporadic throughout the day. Even as a mechanic, there was a lot of time where I was doing laborious things, but I could be thinking something else. And when I really wanted to get into it at work, I went to the bathroom. I locked the door. And I really got to it. Or I went on a test drive, or I had somebody raise me up in the car on the lift. And I was either doing a three-way call, or I was telling somebody about isogenics, or I was getting into this. Spend as much of your leisure time as you can in contemplating your picture, but no one needs to take exercise to concentrate his mind on a thing he really wants. So true. It is the things you do not really care about which require effort to fix your attention upon them. So that's the course correction. Red light, stop thinking about that way. Get back to what's on the template. The dish breaks, L&R it. You don't have to think anything about that dish breaking. You really don't. That's a very controlled mind to be thinking extra hard about their template when the dish breaks. When you hit a red light, when somebody gets the parking spot before you. I am so used to parking in the very back now, taking more steps to get to the grocery, to the store. But during those times, as you're driving down the road, as you hit a red light, do you have the radio going? Do you have talk radio going? Oh, that's totally a waste of your time. That's totally not going to get you anywhere if you have the radio going. It's so weird for me to get in a car now and the radio is actually on. All right? So he's saying here, the things that you don't care about, the things you don't want. Neville Goddard really gets into that. Feeling is the secret. But it's saying it right here as well. The things you don't care about. And unless you really want to get rich, so that the desire is strong enough to hold your thoughts directed to the purpose, as the magnetic pole holds the needle of the compass, it will hardly be worthwhile for you to try to carry out the instructions given in this book. If your template is not framed up in a way that just excites you, and the only and if it is, but you're not staying excited, it's because you're entertaining. I can't do this. This is hard. The right people aren't showing up. My business isn't growing, so this thing isn't going to become a reality. It's too difficult, or I can't do it, or whatever rationalization in your mind. The methods herein set forth are for people whose desires for riches is strong enough to overcome mental laziness and the love of ease and make them work. One thing that I did have going for me, my life had taught me to work hard. Somehow my life in sports and digging ditches, I always wanted to put excellence into it. Carrie says that's just part of your temperament. But you could have the bad side of the temperament and the good side of the temperament. For some reason, I developed that before learning this. So I really put excellence into it. And all of us have the capacity to do that. But some people may have built a personality with their temperaments to where it's on the lower end. So you're going to have to work to overcome that mental laziness. The thing that also helped me to overcome the mental laziness was that I couldn't deny the principles. The principles were immutable. And the more I read them, the more I understood them, the more it was like gravity to me. There's no arguing with gravity. I can't argue with gravity when I'm on a 7-story building and say, gravity, come on, dang it. I got to get down there and I'm going to jump. I just want you to just float me down, nice and easy. That's absurd. And what I was learning, the deeper I understood the principles as well, along with my discipline and excellence, the immutableness of these principles. I just understood these principles because I gave so much time and effort to understanding what each one of these sentences meant. He didn't just write this sentence just because. He meant it for a reason. So am I really understanding what he's saying right here? And what about the next sentence? The more clear and definite you make your picture then, and the more you dwell upon it, bringing out all its delightful details. the stronger your desire will be. And the stronger your desire, the easier it will be to hold your mind fixed upon the picture of what you want. Do you see why I really took the time to detail out? Something more is necessary, however, than merely to see the picture clearly. If that is all you do, you are only a dreamer. This is a powerful sentence, and will have little or no power for accomplishment. Behind your clear vision, like, can you imagine me reading this? Okay, what do I got to do? Just tell me what I got to do, and I'll start doing it. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Behind your clear vision, you must be the purpose to realize it, to bring it out in tangible expression. Okay, what does that mean? Bring it out in intelligible expression. And behind this purpose must be an invincible and unwavering faith that the thing is already yours, that it is at hand, and you have only to take possession of it. Put the PowerPoint together, put the little flip chart together, start inviting myself, make it a tangible expression. While I'm being a mechanic, live in the new house mentally until it takes the form around you physically. Go look at houses, go house shopping, take pictures in front of houses. See yourself in there, see your kids in there. What are they doing in their room? What are you guys doing together as a family? Live in the new house mentally until it takes form around you physically in the mental realm. Enter at once into full enjoyment of the things you want. Walk on the wood floors. Whatsoever things you ask for when you pray, believe that you receive them. There it is. Whatsoever things you ask for when you pray, believe that you receive them, and ye shall have them, said Jesus. See the things you want as if they were actually around you all the time. I did that while I was at work as a mechanic. See yourself as owning and using them. What did I see? I saw while I was mechanicking, having the conversations with certain types of customers, certain rewards and recognition happening at Isogenics events. For me, my identity, seeing certain people joining my business and having success. And I was having phone calls with people. I was making connections with people. I was doing the flip chart with people in their homes. Regardless of how they responded, I kept seeing the vision. So if somebody didn't respond in a way that was in harmony with my vision, I just dismissed it. I just forgot about it. I didn't let that particular scenario start to create my thoughts and images. I forgave it. And the ones who did, I just went to the next step with them. I took it to the next step. And still today, if somebody doesn't respond the way that my vision is, today, how I hold my vision, I just dismiss it. I LNR it. Law of non-resistance. And so many people hang on to that bad experience and don't understand the principles behind holding on to the fantasy in the midst of something that wasn't in harmony with it. See the things you want, and I'm going to finish up here with this. See the things you want as if they were actually around you all the time. See yourself as owning and using them. Make use of them in imagination, just as you will use them when they are your tangible possessions. Dwell upon your mental picture until it is clear and distinct. And then, and I did that mostly in the quiet, peaceful times of my, being in my closet. And then take the mental attitude of ownership toward everything in that picture. So then I started doing the actions, I'm mimicking them as best I could and developing the protocols and the tools and the systems to mimic that. So that's why I put the flip chart together. If I'm going to be one of the best presenters in Isogenics, then I probably already start putting some kind of presentation together. Take possession of it in mind and in full faith that it is actually yours. Hold to this mental ownership. Do not waver for an instant in the faith that it is real. And remember what was said in the preceding chapter about gratitude. Be as thankful for it all the time as you expect to be when it's taken form. There you go. Those sentences right there brought it all home. Turn the fantasy into a fact in my mind and hold to it. All right, so This stuff wasn't stuff that I made up or that I had, pieced together out of very vague. That's not very vague. That is very direct. And what I wanted to do was extract what the books was teaching me to do and make it a part of me, and not be a hypocrite, not delay what was in the book, not wait for something else to bring it into my life. Me, bring from what's in the book into me, internalize it, and now facilitate that. Do you see why I grew? People would say, I can't believe how fast you're growing or how successful you're becoming. You have changed so much. Yeah, I changed so much because I was extracting what was in here and making it a part of me in the actual mimicking of it, physically and mentally. Mentally, I was always ahead of the physical. I was always steps ahead of what was happening in the physical world. I still am to this day. Okay? All right. You either do it or you don't. It just comes down to that. You either do that or you don't. You either understand and work to understand what he's saying there, or you don't. You're an advancing, progressive being, and you could go to whatever level you want. And the only thing that's going to stop you is you. In this case, the only thing that really is going to stop you is you, because you got the information. Right? Anybody want to share anything? You should be able to unmute yourselves.
So Dave, you're saying that talk radio will distract me from my purposeful, clear vision?
Not only will it distract you, it'll pull you away from your vision.
Yeah.
Depending on what talk radio. Now, if you're listening to Tony Robbins over here, or Zig Ziglar, or, make it an ISA university, or make it a university, rolling university. That's what we call it, because you could be putting in Neville Goddard. You could be recording your voice and playing it through. Then you have a rolling university.
Yeah. Yeah, because, Wallace Wattles has an affirmation, and it goes something like this: all is well with the world.
It's becoming.
Don't get all snarled up in what Antifa is doing, or what the Republicans or what the Democrats are doing, or, that's all a distraction from my task today, right? From my purpose today. And I can't get distracted. It's a squirrel,
Mm-hmm.
Right. I have an appointment this morning. Somebody's coming to the house, and I think they just tried calling me, so I'm just texting them real quick.
All righty.
Learning what's distractions that don't serve you and eliminating those. If they don't serve you, why would you want them in your life? So you've got to work. And if there are people who are pulling you down, why would you want them in your life? Now, maybe you're married to that person. I don't know. Maybe it's your direct family. Maybe it's your parents. You got to learn how to juggle that and overcome that challenge. And you can. So without harming the other person, do no harm. In all of this, you never want to do any harm to anybody. Saying bad things to people, or reprimanding people, or chastising them is not a good vibration. So there's always ways to resolve that in a favorable way where both people win. So again, they'll eliminate the distractions. And there was a lot of the distractions were in my own mind. I was catching and that's where we go to the template and we write a new thing for where I'm self-betraying. We write a new identity for the thoughts that I'm betraying myself. Again, if you weed those thoughts that are betraying you in your own mind, if you pull the weeds out, another weed's going to grow right back in. You have to plant a flower there in its place. So you have to create a new identity that you're going to put into your vision of who you are. You don't attack the identity, the wrong identity. Attacking the wrong identity just grows it more. Where your focus and energy goes, that thing grows. That's why what people are talking about, on social media and things right now, they think that they're addressing the problem in a way that's going to get rid of the problem. If you attack the problem, all it does is grow it more. I'm writing up something that I'm going to post on the Facebook post that will reveal that to people. It's going to be called the No Comment Challenge. And it's going to talk about that in detail, how good people with good intentions are attacking the problem, and now they're becoming part of the problem. And I explain how that is and why that is. It's going to be a long post, but it will help those who read it to realize you're spreading darkness when your intention was to try and minimize the darkness. You guys, you can't argue and attack, the bad. Okay, so
that which you resist persists.
right.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't know what I was going to say about that, but anybody else want to?
Yeah, hey Dave, the weeds don't need any help to grow at all.
Okay.
I remember listening to Les Brown say the weeds will bust through cement. They'll just do it. They don't need any sunlight. They don't need any water. And there's just something, I don't know, and I don't want to get into that at all, but it is what it is, right? That's just part, right? So, but I like what you said. I like, well, you were reading it from the book, and I'm very much in tuned and committed and aware on a daily basis and where my focus is, and I'm responsible to do my part. Everything that I could do, it's my responsibility to make my best effort as consistently as I possibly. I love when it referred to, the captain of the ship, like, how often do you want to pay attention to the course that you set, or to the destination that you say you want to go? How often should you pay attention? Every single moment. Your hands are on the wheel. The second you pay attention, you just gave up the possibility of getting to where, how could you? So, but the word was burning desire, because I was thinking about Think and Grow Rich, and it was just, and I don't remember the words, how it was read there. But the question is, what do you really want, right? So I just wrote down, what do you really want? Like, that's what I need to be reminded of every single morning. And I spend minutes and I visualize it and I get excited and I celebrate it. I feel the feelings of accomplishing already what I want. And I believe that it's possible. It's up to me to totally believe. My mind is just like, woo! It can't tell the difference whether it's really happening or not. And most of the stuff that we buy into, we don't even know if it's true or if it's going to happen or not. But we internalize it like, oh my God, did you hear what happened? And then all of a sudden, our mind is wired to respond to it. We can do that as well with positive stuff, right? So, it takes consistent effort. But the question is, and I was thinking about this, I'll try to make this really short, like, do you really believe? So I was talking to Guillermo over the weekend, and he was telling me about the accomplishment he has with one of his goals that he had as well, and that's amazing. And he's like, I can't, it's happening. And his belief levels are growing, right? But him and I were talking about some people that he's working with that want to lose 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds. He's working with some people, and he broke it down to me and said, listen, these people are not able at this point or willing to believe that they could release 200 or 300 pounds. He said, but I noticed I could get them to believe that they can release 50 pounds. And so, that made sense to me. And I do a lot of work with recovering addicts. I'm a recovering addict myself. So when they hear that I've been clean over 22 years, they're like they can't see that. They can't see that. But I could say, hey, you think you can stay clean today? You think we can put 7 days together? You think we can do 30 or 90? They're like, yeah, I can do that. And so it's really about just wherever a person's at, believe, just in chunks, just believe in chunks. And then, because what Guillermo pointed out, and what I've seen in my experience in network marketing as well, because the same thing with network marketing, people, may not be able to believe. You and I have had this conversation with people believing if they can generate $54,000 a month or $20,000 a month on a passive residual basis. Meanwhile, so many people are doing it. But it's their own belief, their own capacity to believe, willingness, whatever it is, whatever challenges are there to get to that place where you can believe. So if you can believe $200 a month, $500 a month, remove a bill, whatever, start with that. but just it's up to us individually to truly believe, right? And I see you, but like the feelings, that feeling is the key. Because when you're in tune with that and your belief is sincere, and even if it's a little challenging at the time, stay the course. Stay right, the chemistry, stay that course, and just will it. Because I truly believe, without a shadow of a doubt, God wants the very best for each and every one of us, and we have the capacity, to accomplish what we're seeing in our minds. Was also described as a preview. Just like when we're watching the movies and we see, oh, wow, look what's coming. Same thing with my mind. I'm like, oh, my God, you got to see my wife. I got to record it. She's like, oh, my God, you're not going to believe what just came to my mind. I'm like, oh, my God, let me sit down. Because she tells me stuff and I'm like, she gets me shaking, but that's the way it's supposed to be. We got to stretch. If we're going to grow, we got to stretch. But ultimately, I really just, what do you really want? And just, ponder on that for a moment and write it down. Be brave enough and write it down. Because most of us as adults, we've taken some hard hits, and then we get a little reluctant, like, I don't want to ask for too much. I mean, I don't want to get hurt again. So Dave, thank you, man. And in closing, I was sharing with a group of our leaders, and I said, I noticed today, when Malcolm said, don't get on to talk radio, I was like, this is my talk radio. This is my favorite station. I've been here for 55 weeks every Monday morning, plugging in, and it's accumulating, accumulatively, right? It grows, but we got to stay connected. We got to stay consistency. There's principles involved in that stuff. So thank you, Dave. I was trying to contain that a little bit shorter, but I
That's good. I know. I love it.
I blame you because you get us really riled up, man.
The vibration is contagious, right? So I want to finish off a thought that you reminded me of. I didn't finish it off with this. So this peptide that you're creating based on the images and feelings, when it docks into the cell starts to vibrate. That's the feeling. Now you know that you got it right in the brain, because then the cells are telling you, hey, you're in the zone right now. You're feeling it. So that feeling that you're getting is literally a vibration, just like the fear vibration, the happy vibration, the scared vibration, the anxiety vibration. Those all come from thoughts, right? So when it docks in, this very clear picture that you have, this image of your customers and your life and your business partners' lives, not only are you feeling it and you're in the zone because you're feeling it, that vibration doesn't just stay in you, that's going out into the thinking stuff. And the thinking stuff, like a magnet, starts to pull all of those people, situations, circumstances together to mimic it in its exact image. And some of you have experienced that, where the exact thing you had written down happened in your life in reality. Now they'll say something, Bob Proctor will say either the exact thing or something equivalent to it. And you'll recognize it though. It's not happenstance, it's not chance, it's not luck. It was created. The universe is not a universe of luck or chaos or favoritism. It's science. And so I knew that, and I was going to do everything I had to do. So eliminating these weeds, you don't attack them. What I learned is I needed to create the exact opposite, because this weed keeps showing up in a thought and a feeling as I'm going through my vision. So what I need to do is create the exact opposite identity to that weed. And what does that look like? So I had to figure out what it looked like in detail and script it out. And then propagandize myself to where eventually I take that on as a new identity. And I would always say, like, propaganda, because that's what propaganda is doing. The enemy who puts out the propaganda knows if they could get you to think and feel that thing, it doesn't matter what you thought in the past or what your beliefs are or who your loyalties are. If we could get that propaganda to sink in and you accept it, we've got you. Mm-hmm. You will now mimic it in its image of that propaganda. So I propagandized my mind over and over and over until I took on the new identity. Okay? So that's the goal. That's the work to do with the weeds. If every time the weed came up, I didn't think about it. I thought about the new thing. And then I I didn't even give the weed a chance because all I was doing was maintaining the thoughts and feeling around that new image identity. That was the exact opposite. The old one dies off because it's not getting a subconscious feed anymore. And the conscious intentional one is getting the attention, it's getting the energy. And I'm watering it. The other one dies off because it's the exact opposite. It has to die off by me focusing on the new one. It's not getting any energy. Typically your weeds are getting energy subconsciously. You're doing this subconsciously. But now that I've actually created the exact opposite, I'm going to be feeding this one, the other one has to die off because it's on the same line. It has to die off. Very powerful, you guys. All right, I think we're there. Willie, thanks so much. Malcolm, all of you, thank you for showing up. Actually, we have a couple more minutes. Is there anything that anybody else wanted to say?
Yes, sir.
I was going to say, I garden a lot, and so I'm taking out a lot of weeds in my desert yard, right? And some of them really are weeds, like old stinking thinking weeds. The weeds in your mind, the weeds in the garden, okay? Some weeds have their own beauty, and they like, I tell them, you are so pretty, but you cannot grow in my yard. So those are worthy distractions, but they take me away from what my real goal is and my intention. Not that those weeds are such bad things, but they are a distraction away from what I'm trying to focus on. So I tell them, I recognize your beauty, but you cannot live in my garden. And thus I need to work, that's the part I need to work better on in my own mind.
Yeah, some people are so in love with their problems, more so than they are with their vision and their dream life.
Mm-hmm.
They love the feelings and then the attention that they get from the negative.
Yeah.
You do get attention from negative, and people want to have voice. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. And they realize that, hey, I'm really seen when I share that negative, you know, whether it's their health, whether it's their finances, whether it's the politics in the world. Some people love the attention that they get from the negative, and they love that more than they do their dream life.
Hey, Dave,
You always get that which you love and serve. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd really love to see a group of people with us in Fiji in 2021. So this is a 4-week cycle. This is the third cycle. So the first one was a 4-week, last one was a 5-week. This is a 4-week cycle where we're qualifying for points to be able to go to Fiji. So if you're not really sure how those points get accumulated, find out. It's on the Leader in Action formula. And I sincerely believe that us within the Forever Pack community have much more of an advantage to score points on those sheets on a weekly basis. And so this 4-week cycle starts now. If you haven't scored any points yet towards that Fiji trip, find out and start doing it this week. Start doing it this week. And then the other thing too is that this morning I woke up and realizing that, you know, the 4th of July is this weekend, you know, and so a lot of people are going to go into, you know, celebration and all of this stuff and woohoo, Independence Day. And how about you celebrate your own Independence Day? And how about we focus on what our Independence Day looks like and what is, so, you know, like there's certain quotes that like I saw the other day. It said, I don't work my business because I have free time to do so. I work my business to make sure I have free time. So I'll do today what most people are not necessarily committed to do so that in the future, you know, so it's about acquiring, it's about working, it's about knowing what we want. And this week we celebrate Independence Day. And I'm 1000%, I'm all in, you know, I'm a proud American and you know, whatever, the good, the bad, the ugly, it's all, you know, it's package deal, that's life, right? And then we focus on what we want and how can we be part of the solution. And I'm going to be talking to people about freedom. You know, forget about all the other negative noise or whatever, freedom. You know, this is what we've been able to do over a certain amount of time, or this is what I'm doing. These are the people that I'm surrounding myself with. This is what we have going on. Are you looking for a sense of freedom? a sense of certainty, because that's what we're looking to offer people. That's what we're offering people, right? And we're excited and we're committed. And I have an obligation to share this with you this week, during this celebration of Independence Day. What does your Independence Day look like? And so today's Monday, and it's the first day of this 4-week cycle. So, today's the day to get rallied up, right, Jerry? Not on the last week of the 4-week cycle or the last 2 days of the week. Oh my God, I got to get my goals done. No, Monday morning, let's go. So thank you, Dave, for allowing me to interject one more time. It was just on my heart. I would feel like I didn't share what was on my heart with you guys, and so I'm glad I had the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, a couple of things I just want to add before we close here. And Jerry, he can't prepare for a meet 2 days before. You don't become a 10-time world champion by preparing a couple days or even that week before. It's what you're doing way before that wins the matches. Lenny would say, every firework that goes off on 4th of July, think of that as a cycle going off. Every firework you see, every explosion, that's a cycle going off. Or maybe it's a rock star that just joined your organization, or a customer that just had an amazing result. Every firework represents that. And I want to tell you the power of an idea. This just came to me just now. I know heaven's coming to earth. I know that. And we're establishing it. We're pushing out the borders of heaven, freedom. God's taking the world right where he wants it to go. And that's my idea. That's one that it's already happening. I believe it. It can't be stopped. Well, isn't it interesting that as other people are feeling more contracted, I'm feeling freer and thriving more than I ever have. So while on one dynamic, on one parallel in this universe, people are feeling they're losing freedoms, we're on the other side, our company that we're aligned with is thriving. I'm thriving. Isn't that interesting that it's like two parallel universes, and whoever holds the idea is their experience. I truly feel more free than I ever have. My business is thriving. I've done less for my business and it's thriving more than it ever has, because that's my idea and that's my expansion, right? Mm-hmm. And so just think about that. I believe that will continue on. Even if in some people's lives, it became the worst case scenario, that they basically become locked up. Well, that's their image and the ideal that they're holding. What if I continue to hold my idea of heaven on earth? We're all free. We're all thriving physically, financially, and that continues to grow simultaneously while the other isn't. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's not a fluke. I just realized, wow, while some people are so passionate about feeling like they're losing their freedoms, I feel more alive and thriving than I ever have. Why would that have to go away if it's based on my ideas and my images and my ideal? That's the power of an idea, you guys. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Positioning of the sails.
Even as other people get a more and more constricted, we're going to become more and more alive if we hold to that idea. All right, you guys, awesome mastermind this morning. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you tonight on the Zoom.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Mr. Dave.
Thank you.
Hey, Willie, we got to talk.